Good evening, dear travelers.
Hello?
Please do come inside my abode. We just finished making some exquisite stew with a lovely sweet roll as dessert.
Yay!
I trust the wolves haven't troubled your paths since last we spoke. There are indeed something haunting about these creatures, isn't there? They are so beautiful underneath the moonlit skies when they are unbothered, and yet so cruel and cunning whenever they hunger for sweet travelers such as yourselves. But these wolves, they are, simple beasts compared to those who walk on two legs. While we may be safe from the beasts out there, I would not be so quick to dismiss the dangers of those who smile with teeth sharper than any one beast could. But fear not, dear travelers, for as long as I remain, no shadow nor beast shall harm you. Especially not since tonight we return to 𝕱𝖈𝖎's tale. A little bit of a recap for you, if you will. In the first volume of The Wolf Queen, we saw the seeds of her cunning take root. A neglected child who were eventually abandoned by her family in a world where power is survival. Yet even then, she showed the sharpness of her wit, the beginnings of a mind that could outpace even the most dangerous predator. Let us see where the pages lead us next. What schemes will unfold? What lessons lie in her rise? Sit close, dear travelers, for our fire is warm, while their tale grow colder as we delve deeper. Shall we begin? From the pen of the 1st century, from the 3rd era sage 𝕾𝖒𝖎. Let me just interrupt for a moment here. For those of you who may not understand what I just said, basically, 𝕾𝖒𝖎 was a 1st century sage of the 3rd era. And despite the fact that the author of The Wolf Queen was 𝕱𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖈, 𝕾𝖒𝖎 is known to have written the actual text of the first 4 books. He had a student named 𝕾𝖔𝖈𝖎𝖑𝖃 who continued 𝕾𝖒𝖎's job and wrote the rest of the books. That is all. Let us now begin for real. It is now the 82nd year of the 3rd era, a year after the wedding of his 14-year-old granddaughter, the Princess 𝕱𝖈𝖎, to King 𝕾𝖒𝖒𝖎 of the Nordic Kingdom of Solitude. The Emperor 𝕱𝖆𝖼𝖕 II passed on. His son, 𝕾𝖔𝖆𝖼 II, was made the emperor, and he faced a greatly depleted treasury, thanks to his father's poor management. As the new Queen of Solitude, 𝕱𝖈𝖎 faced opposition from the old Nordic houses, who viewed her as an outsider. 𝕾𝖒𝖎 had been widowed, and his former queen was still loved dearly in the hearts of the people of Solitude. She had left him a son, after all, Prince 𝕬𝖒𝖎, who was 2 years older than his stepmother, 𝕬𝖒, and he did not love her. However, the king loved his queen and suffered with her through miscarriage after miscarriage until her 29th year, when she bore him a son. It is now the 97th year of the 3rd era. You must do something to help the pain, 𝕀𝖎𝖏 cried, baring her teeth. The healer known as 𝕾𝖏 immediately thought of a she-wolf in labor. But he put the image from his mind. Her enemies called her the Wolf Queen for certes, but not because of any physical resemblance. Your Majesty, there is no injury for me to heal. The pain you feel is natural and helpful for the birth. He was going to add more words of consolation, but he had to break off to duck the mirror that she flung at him. I am not a pig-nosed peasant girl, she snarled. I am the Queen of Solitude, daughter of the Emperor. Summon the 𝕱𝖔𝖑𝖑𝖔𝖜. I will trade the soul of every last subject of mine for a little comfort. My lady, said the healer nervously, drawing the curtains and blotting out the cold morning sun. It is not wise to make such offers even in jest. The eyes of oblivion are forever watching for just such a rash interjection. What would you know of oblivion, healer? She growled, but her voice was calmer, quieter. The pain had relaxed. Would you fetch me that mirror that I hurled at you? Are you going to throw it again, Your Majesty? Said the healer with a taut smile, obeying her. Very likely, she said, looking at her reflection. And next time, I won't miss. But I do look a fright. Is Lord 𝕱𝖑𝖏 still waiting for me in the hall? Yes, Your Majesty. Well, tell him I just need to fix my hair and I will be with him. And leave us. I will howl for you when the pain returns. Yes, Your Majesty. A few minutes later, Lord 𝕱𝖑𝖏 was shown into the chamber. He was an enormous bald man whose friends and enemies called Mount 𝕱𝖑𝖏. And when he spoke, it was with the low grumble of thunder. The queen was one of the very few people 𝕱𝖑𝖏 knew who was not the least bit intimidated by him, and he offered her a smile. My queen, how are you feeling? He asked. Damned, but you're looking like a spring tide has come to Mount 𝕱𝖑𝖏. I take it from your merry disposition that you have been made war chief. Only temporarily, while your husband, the king, investigates whether there is evidence behind the rumors of treason on the part of my predecessor, Lord 𝕉𝖠. If you've planted it as I have instructed, he will find it, 𝕱𝖏 smiled, propping herself up in the bed. Tell me, is Prince 𝕱𝖏 still in the city? What a question, Your Highness, laughed the mountain. It's the tournament of stamina today. You know the prince would never miss that. The fellow invents new strategies of self-defense every year to show off during the games. Don't you recall last year where he entered the ring unarmored and after 20 minutes of fending off 6 bladesmen left the games without a scratch? He dedicated that bout to his late mother, Queen Amodetha. Yes, I recall. He's no friend to me or you, Your Highness, but you must give the man his due respect. He moves like lightning. You wouldn't think it of him, but he always seemed to use his awkwardness to his advantage, to throw his opponent off. Some say he learned the style from the orcs to the south. They say he learned from them how to anticipate a foe's attack by some sort of supernatural power. There is nothing supernatural about it, said the queen quietly. He gets it from his father. Mantiako never moved like that, 𝕱𝖑𝖏 chuckled. I never said he did, said 𝕱𝖏, her eyes closed and her teeth gritted together. The pain is returning. You must fetch the healer. But first, I must ask you one other thing. Has the new summer palace construction begun? I think so, Your Highness. Do not think, she cried, gripping the sheets, biting her lips so a stream of blood dripped down her chin. Do make certain that the construction begins at once, today. Your future, my future, and the future of this child depend on it. Go. 4 hours later, King 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘 entered the room to see his son. His queen smiled weakly as she gave her a kiss on the forehead. When she handed him the child, a tear ran down his face. Another one quietly followed, and then another. "My lord," she said fondly, "I know you are sentimental, but really? It's not only the child, though he is beautiful, with all the fair features of his mother." 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘 turned to his wife, sadly, his aged features twisted in agony. "My dear wife, there is trouble at the palace. In truth, this birth is the only thing that keeps this day from being the darkest day in my reign." "What is it? Something at the tournament?" 𝕾𝖒𝖎 pulled herself up in bed. "Something with 𝕻𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘?" "No, it isn't a tournament, but it does relate to 𝕻𝖎𝖎𝖑𝖘. I shouldn't worry you at a time like this. You need to rest." "My husband, tell me." "I wanted to surprise you with a gift after the birth of our child, so I had the old summer palace completely renovated. It is a beautiful place, or at least it was. I thought you might like it. Truth to tell, it was Lord 𝕻𝖑𝖘's idea. It used to be Amodepha's favorite place." Bitterness crept into the king's voice. "Now I have learned why." "What have you learned?" asked 𝕻𝖒𝖎𝖎 quietly. "Amodepha deceived me there with my trusted war chief, Lord 𝕻𝖏. There were letters between them, the most perverse things you've ever read, and that's not the worst of it. No? The dates on the letters correspond with the time of 𝕻𝖎𝖎𝖏's birth, the boy I raised and loved as a son." 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖘's voice choked up with emotion. "He was 𝕻𝖏's child, not mine." "My darling," said 𝕻𝖒𝖎, almost feeling sorry for the old man. She wrapped her arms around his neck as he heaved his sobs down on her and their child. "Henceforth," he said quietly, 𝕻𝖎𝖎𝖑 is no longer my heir. He will be banished from the kingdom. This child you have borne me today will grow to rule solitude." "And perhaps more," said 𝕻𝖒𝖎. "He is the emperor's grandson as well. We will name him 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖑 II." "My darling, I would love that," said 𝕻𝖒𝖎, kissing the king's tear-streaked face. "But may I suggest 𝕱𝖆l, after my grandfather, the emperor, who brought us together in marriage?" King 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖘 smiled at his wife and nodded his head. There was a knock at the door. "My liege," said Mount 𝕻𝖎𝖏, "His Highness Prince 𝕻𝖎𝖎𝖏 has finished the tournament and awaits you to present his award. He has successfully withstood attacks by 9 archers and the giant scorpion we brought in from Hammerfell. The crowd is roaring his name. They are calling him the man who cannot be hit." "I will see him," said King 𝕾𝖒𝖎𝖎𝖘 sadly, and left the chamber. "Oh, he can be hit all right," said 𝕻𝖒𝖎 wearily. "But it does take some doing." And there you have it, my merry travelers. Was it just me, or did this one fly us by even quicker than the first volume did? I must say, I'm starting to become invested within the story and the plot of the Wolf Queen. Now, I can hardly wait for the next one, and I hope all of you feel the same way as well. Now then, the night is still young, And the wolves are still outside. How about this? How about we do our own tournament? First one to bring 3 wolf pelts wins a free evening of any ale or mead they want.